Buenos dias, good morning. Welcome everyone to Conciencia Planetaria, a program of Mundo Holistiko TV. Today's program will be in English. El programa de hoy va a estar en inglés y mañana será disponible en YouTube con subtítulos en español. I'm Tracy Barnett with the Esperanza Project, and I'm so glad to welcome you to another edition of Conciencia Planetaria. Today, we're joined by a very special returning guest, Beatriz Padilla, wilderness painter, marine mammal advocate, and the creator of Voices of the Ocean. Many of you will remember her from our conversation last December. I first met Beatriz 16 years ago when she was deeply immersed in defending the Bosque de Agua, the vital water forest that supplies water to Mexico City and far beyond. From there, her path evolved into immersing herself in endangered landscapes to paint, and now into defending the whales of the Gulf of California and beyond. Gulf of California, often called the Aquarium of the world. After last year's 21-day fast for the whales and her recent participation in an international marine mammal summit in Mazatlán, Beatriz is preparing to begin a 2.5-month live art protest on the Baja California coast. Beatriz, welcome back to Conciencia Planetaria. It's such an honor to have you with us.
Hello, Tracy.
Hello.
What a treat that you should be interested in what I'm trying to do.
Well, definitely. And I think many people are interested, and many more will be interested as the word starts to get out. It's really important what you're doing.
I do believe so. I really have this need to be relevant at the place where it is most needed. And I find that right now the whales really need us, and the ocean in general. So that's why, not only because I'm passionate about them, but because this is where we must really focus now. We must not leave them out of our consciousness. They're in danger. They're having a tough time.
Absolutely. I was kind of shocked by the things that you shared with me the last time we talked. And I think to bring people up to speed, first, I'd like for us to ground a little bit in the here and now. Can you talk to us a little bit about where you are right now, physically as well as emotionally, as you prepare to return to the coast?
Sure. I am in Cuernavaca, and I'll be departing next Sunday from Mexico City, flying to Loreto, where we fortunately had the good idea of leaving our campsite in a friend's house. So we've got most of what we will be needing already in Loreto, in Baja. Actually, because this year there will be several trips to Baja to keep painting vocalizations of the whales. Emotionally, well, because this is going to be such a long trip, 2.5 months, there's a lot I got to leave in proper order back here. So it's chaotic, it's running all over, and but things are working out. I do believe that when you set order in your physical environment, inside it also feels good, and you're sending a message to the universe that all blocks should be removed, because gosh, we've been putting order in a warehouse here, in a warehouse of my family that's kind of stacked up with too many things. So we have created space and order, and I'm sure that's gonna benefit also my psyche and my life in general.
Yes.
There's so much that is not under our control, but this particular little bodega is. So it's worth it.
Definitely. Wow. Okay. So you're taking off on February 1st, right?
Next Sunday, yes. I'm going to traveling first to Loreto, where I'm going to sorting out my things, to take only what I need. I will not bring with me the Starlink and the solar panels because I'm going to an ecotourism place in the coast of the Pacific, and I'm not sure if it's a good idea to say exactly where I'm going to be, because I'm going to be saying a lot of things about Saguaro energy, and I wonder, Baja, there's a lot of organized crime over there, and it's clearly evident that organized crime is colluded with political authorities. And I wonder if it's safe to say exactly where I'll be going, but I'll be on the Pacific coast of the Baja California Peninsula. That I can say, because there are many, many lagoons where the whales actually, the gray whales, go. Because the first half of the trip, I'll be painting interpretations of the voices of the gray whales. And the second half of the trip, I'll be painting interpretations of the vocalizations of the blue whales.
Are they very different?
The gray whales are on the Pacific coast of the Baja Peninsula. The blue whales are inside the Gulf of California. They have very different behaviors, partly because of their diet. I'm in a terrace, and there are people screaming, and I'm just gonna move inside inside the house because there's a lot of. Just a second.
Okay, no worries. Such a wonderful thing to be in Mexico, where you can open the windows and be warm. It's Beatriz has actually spent an hour with us on a previous interview in December, which you can find on all our channels, Mundo Holistiko TV on YouTube, and just Mundo Holistiko on Facebook. Also, we are now on Spotify. So it's worthwhile to check that out if you have some time. But now Beatriz is back with us, and Beatriz, when you say the whales are in serious trouble, what does that actually look like on the ground, or in the water, as it were, right now?
Yeah, there are certain things that you can say in general about the whales, but there's a lot of things that are whale specific. So, amor, si quieres yo lavo después. Yo lavo. Ahí déjalo. Sorry. Okay, in general, let's start by the silent threat. Oh, jeez. Let's start by the silent threat. Water pollution. To cite one example, the Japanese hunt whales. They throw whale meat to the garbage pit because it is considered toxic waste, industrially toxic waste. The meat of the whales have so many heavy metals, metales pesados, that it's a hazard to eat whale meat.
Really?
Can you imagine how the whales must feel? Physically, they are probably not feeling good at all. They're probably feeling really sick.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things, the silent threat.
Mm-hmm.
Then,
Let me just, if I can stop you for a moment here, and just take us back to, you cited some numbers to me that were really shocking about how many whales have been dying.
yeah, that's one of the species-specific problems. But I was trying to tell you about the general problems first, and then I can move on to the species-specific problems.
Mm-hmm.
So, going back to the general problems, I mentioned water pollution. Then there's also what we call ghost nets.
Oh.
Yearly, there's about 40 million tons of fishing nets, huge fishing nets that are lost at sea. let alone the ones that they are using. I'm talking about the ones that are lost at sea and wind up floating like a ghost in the ocean, and whales get tangled on these nets. And very, very rarely, there's a big effort in Mexico and in many countries to remove these nets. But in Mexico, there's 10 places that do it. And it's only recommended for specialists to engage in this because it's dangerous. It requires special training and special equipment. But what about all the whales that are floating far away from these 10 places in Mexico? I'm not aware about how many of these net removal places there are in the world, but I mean, 14 million tons of nets lost yearly at sea. The ones lost the previous year and the previous year and the previous year. So that's another big, big hazard. Then we have ship collisions with the ships, maritime traffic is increasing, growing, and the ships are going really, really, really fast. And they also make a lot of noise, which confuses the whales. And so ship collisions, there's a really sad image about a ship, one of these huge container transporting ships, let alone yachts and lanchas, pangas. These are also a problem for collisions and damaging marine mammals and dolphins and whales. But these huge tankers that transport containers or methane, they're actually called mataballenas, whale killers. There's this very sad photograph of one of them arriving in port with a humpback whale hanging on the front of the ship, and it wasn't even aware the whale was there. So that's another one. But then the noise that maritime traffic generates, and not only maritime traffic, exploration of underwater resources like oil, gas, and I think it's mostly oil, fossil fuels, that there's a lot of exploration. And these, well, actually, it's two different ones. One is maritime traffic, which generates a lot of noise, and some of this noise can actually damage the hearing system of the whales. Their hearing system is incredibly complex, sophisticated, developed for them to communicate over long, long distances. It's important for them to communicate with each other, to find a mate, to find their offspring when the babies are very young. It's important for them to find food, to read the ground, to know their bearings, to geolocate. And when their hearing sound is damaged, it's incredibly stressful, and it can actually cause their death. But when these ocean floor explorations take place, which are bombardments, they're sending these sonar signs that are really, really loud. They not only damage the whales, but they cause amazing suffering. And it's been correlated, the amount of beachings, varamientos of whales, of large populations of whales, related to these explosions caused in the ocean by some of the ocean explorations. So that's another issue. Whale hunting is one of them, but perhaps the most serious one, and here we're going now into more of a whale-specific problems, but krill is the world's most abundant species by volume. Krill in the ocean, and it's largely right there with the base of the food chain in the ocean. So when there is overfishing of krill, that's a problem. But a larger problem is the loss of sea ice. In Antarctica, for example, the winters used to generate The continent would grow 800,000 square kilometers in the winter of a sheet of thick sea ice. And underneath this translucent sheet of ice, algae grow. I've seen photos. I'm not an expert, I must say, I'm not an expert, but the photographs I've seen from what grows under Antarctic sea ice is like grass. And this grass is what krill feeds on. 800,000 square kilometers of an inverted grassland. And when the ice melts, there's lots of super strong krill. And then there comes the whales, and they have abundant food, and they can really gorge on krill. In the Arctic, it's very much the same, except that I'm told, again, I haven't seen photographs or anything, but I've spoken with experts, and they say that what grows under the sheet of ice that is formed in the winter is like lettuce. Not so much like grass, but more like lettuce. So when the ice melts, all this food falls down to the soil. And so the loss of sea ice means less krill. And if you add to the problem the fact that there is overfishing of krill, of whatever krill there is, to produce, among other things, these food supplements as krill oil, it's very good for your health. It feeds whales. Or like dog food, those little croquetas, chunks of little balls of dog food. They use a lot of krill for that. So there's less krill and it's being overfished. So there's less food available for the marine mammals, for the cycles of the food chain that we've seen. So those are some of the problems that whales are facing. It's really, really stressful. But now let me go into your question about these huge mortalities that we're seeing in the gray whale population. As I was mentioning, there are two gray whale populations. Both are in the North Pacific, only in the North Pacific coast currently. One of the populations goes to Asia, and that one is in really bad shape, really, really poor shape. I know more about the population that comes down to Mexico, all the way down to the lagoons in the Pacific coast of the Baja Peninsula. Now, there are also this population of gray whales that comes down the Pacific coast to Baja has been healthier, and it had nearly recovered to the levels before they became nearly extinct by whale fishing. They were 30,000 whales, and they were nearly extinct because it was so easy to hunt them in the lagoons. And then when hunting was banned, 1946, I think, the population recovered to 27,000, from 30,000 down to nearly zero, back to 27,000, 11 years ago. And in the last 11 years, the population died off to 50%, less than 50%. So it went down from 27,000 to under 13,000. And if you would look at the charts of, this is called unusual mortality events, UMEs. And if you would put a dot wherever a dead whale was found, and you look at the map, it's almost a straight red line of dots, a continuous line of dead whales down the coast. Now, what I was saying, there are two kinds of whales, basically. The ones that have teeth, and the ones that have a filtering system, baleen, I think they're called, baleens, that filters, like the humpbacks and the blue whales. The difference is that the gray whales filter sand. They feed mostly from the crustaceans in the sand. So when you look at the Strait of Bering between the Chukchi Sea, between Russia and Alaska. That's a huge, huge field of sand, not very deep, 30 or 40 meters deep. And when the sea ice forms and it melts, all the lettuce that grows under the sea ice falls down into the sand and feeds the crustaceans, tiny crustaceans, on which the whales feed. There's no sea ice, there's no lettuce, no algae. There's no food for the crustaceans die, there's no food for the whales. So the gray whales are starving. The gray whales have been starving. All those mortality events are gray whales dying of hunger. So that was very devastating because it's very difficult to combat climate change. Actually, people actually want climate change to open new commercial routes through the Arctic, you know? And anyway, so the gray whales migrate very close to the coast because they go close to the sand flats, right? They also documented that there's a river in the north of California that flows out, and there's a huge sand flat outside this river. And because of agrochemical and industrial pollutants, all the crustaceans there died from the pollution. So there was less food for the whales. And so during 10 years, the gray whale population kept going down, down, down. Then in 2024, it started to go up. The scientists said, okay, there is a normal cycle. This was a particularly deep valley in the normal cycle of gray whale populations of increase, decrease. But this was a particularly deep plunge. And in 2024, it sort of came up a little bit. But then in 2025, it went down again. So this year, I'm very curious when I go to paint the gray whale vocalizations. There will be a lot of scientists focused on the gray whale, and I'll have more information. But this year it's critical because one of the signs of the recovering population is the number of babies, of calves. And the number of calves in 2025 was 19. So 13,000 whales, say half were females. That we know of. So we might be witnessing the extinction of the gray whale. But I certainly asked the question, what is there hope? And well, they told me that gray whales have been extremely resilient because, as I say, their populations go like this, fluctuate. And when, for example, during the glaciations, there was no access to those huge sand flats in Alaska, and the gray whale survived. And so the only hope, I think, is adaptation, that they find other sources of food. And fortunately, they tell me they've seen gray whales feeding off the water column and on the surface, not only on the ground, of the crustaceans on the ground, but fish on the water column and on the surface. I wonder how fast this adaptation will take place. There's not enough food. Otherwise, all those 13,000 whales that have died of hunger would have eaten. So we don't know. I don't know. And I hope to find out more now that I'll be in contact with scientists in the field.
Speaking of that, you just spent 4 days, I believe, in Mazatlán with some of the leading scientists in the field at the International Marine Mammals Summit. What stayed with you most from those conversations that you had with those scientists?
Well, well, I felt like a real ignorant, but I felt I was at the very edge of research on the whales. You know, it was a summit where the researchers were presenting the results of their findings, and there were, in 5 days, there were over 300 presentations. You know, some of them were very long, and most were 15 minutes long, and there were some that were 5 minutes long. But it was like the wave of research,
Mm-hmm.
and the leading edge. It was fascinating. I learned a lot, and um, what strikes me most is that even though the Mexican Society of Marine Mammals is the expert in Mexico, the scientific expert in Mexico, they have not been heard. So they handed what I love about them is that they make a stand. They wrote their position against Saguaro Energy, of total opposition against Saguaro Energy. Total, it was addressed to the President of Mexico. And there was no response. And I mean, you cannot question that these are the experts in Mexico on marine mammals.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they were not heard. But I also, there were two studies that I really was very excited to come across. I think you can put the Sea of Cortez on the screen. That would help a lot. And well, the Saguaro Energy liquefaction plant and the export port, the commercial export port, will be placed in Puerto Libertad, Sonora. Oh, thank you. That's a really good image. Puerto Libertad. I don't know if you can see that. There's about 2/3 up into the Sea of Cortez, or the Gulf of California. There are two big islands.
Mm-hmm.
Puerto Libertad, this export site, will be almost right at the edge of the topmost island on Sonora, on the eastern coast. So it's above those two islands where they plan to build this commercial port. Okay? These two studies revealed that right around the area of these two islands, for one, there's a population of approximately 400 fin whales, a little bit up and down the area, but they are mostly living around those islands. These fin whales are the second largest whale in the world, right after the blue whale.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 400 living there. And another study revealed two scenarios of climate change: a moderate and an extreme scenario. Scenario is the right word.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like a moderate and an extreme climate change scenario. And in both cases, it was revealed that those two big islands that you can see there, the area of the big islands, are going to be of critical importance for the survival of marine mammals. Thank you. That's a really relevant image. Those two islands will be a super important refuge. So these are two arguments. I didn't put a third one. A third argument is that above those two islands, there's practically no maritime noise because there are not really very, very few smaller ships going up and down that region. It's basically traffic free, maritime traffic free. I didn't say that, but the other two arguments, I included them with the documents that I gave to the environmental, economic, energy authorities and the governor of Sonora on January 5. Because during that experience in Mazatlán, I felt like I went there there because I love the fact that they took a stand. There are so many scientific bodies that never take a stand. But SOMEMA, de Sociedad Mexicana para el Estudio de Mamíferos, de Mastozoología Marina. Mastozoología is the study of mammifers. So the Mexican Society for the Study of Marine Mammifers, they took a stand and they said total opposition to Saguaro Energy. So I went there and I actually became a member. And SOMEMA is the topmost experts on marine mammals are there, and they are not being listened. But when I was there, it was an international summit because it was also organized by the International Organization for the Study, Latin American Foundation for the Study of Aquatic Mammals. I think I was the only pure activist there. They are all experts, but I was the only activist, and I got signatures in support of SOMEMA's statement of total opposition to Saguaro Energy. And I got 217 signatures of support to what SOMEMA had said. So on January 5th, on the first work day of the year, I delivered a letter with those two arguments that I mentioned, and the 217 signatures to the President of Mexico, to the Minister of the Environment, to the Minister of the Economy, to the Ministry of Energy, and to the Governor of Sonora. I said, you have to listen to Mexico's leading experts. I've only gotten a reply from the Mexican president saying, talk about this with the Ministry of the Environment. And now I have to get together with SOMEMA and say, what are we going to do with that reply? So that moved a little bit. No reply from the governor of Sonora, nor the Ministry of Energy, which are the two strongest advocates in favor of the Saguaro Energy project. The Ministry of Energy and the governor of Sonora. The Puerto Libertad will be built. So.
Wow. Okay. Well, it sounds like it's time to make some calls to those agencies. I'm going to be following up on this and doing a story for Mexico News Daily. You'll be happy to know they approved that story. So I'll be asking you for their contact information to follow up.
Thank you.
Sadly, we only have about 15 minutes. So I'd like it if you could speak to me quickly about, for those who are not familiar with Saguaro Energy, what is that project in a nutshell?
Okay, well, Texas has a lot of natural gas from fracking, or fossil gas from fracking, but they don't have access to the Asian markets. So they decided, hey, we can do this if we build a pipeline all through the north of Mexico, from the municipality of Guadalupe in Chihuahua, all across, parallel to the US border, all across to the northernmost reaches of the Sea of Cortez. There, the permit already exists. It's been granted to build a huge commercial port. They already have the land to build a huge gas liquefaction plant to transform the natural gas into methane, the fossil gas into methane. And from there, with that huge port, export 15 million tons of methane to China, Japan, and South Korea. So that would create, the Sea of Cortez is 1,000 miles long, 1,600 kilometers long. Say this is 2/3 up there. So this is about a 700-mile ships going up and ships going down, creating a lot of noise in the aquarium of the world. 39% of the world's marine mammals live found in the Sea of Cortez, in the Gulf of California. 39%.
Oh, no.
80% of Mexico's marine mammals are found in the Sea of Cortez. And these are the kind of ships, mataballenas, whale killers, that they plan on bringing up and down and up and down and up and down this aquarium of the world. And this is something we simply cannot allow. So this time around, I wanted to do a hunger strike, not so much a strike, but in solidarity with the famine of the gray whales. It breaks my heart that they're starving. So I wanted to be there in solidarity with their hunger, but I'm not trapped. My husband will not be joining me the whole trip, and I cannot make other people responsible for me if I'm doing this all by myself in a place that is opening the doors for me to camp there. So I won't be doing the fast that I wanted to do this time around just yet. But I will be on the Pacific coast of Baja, painting the vocalizations of the gray whales, yet speaking about Saguaro energy, because even though I'll be there, the second part of the trip, I'll be on the Gulf of California coast. But wherever I am while painting the whales, it's important for the world to know that they are already under huge stress. And those gray whales rarely go up into the Sea of Cortez because the Sea of Cortez is between two tectonic plates. It's a fault between two tectonic plates. So the walls are like this. There's no sand accumulation. But we are increasingly seeing gray whales, super skinny gray whales, trying to find food in the Gulf of California. This is not where they are usually found. They are usually here on the Pacific coast. So I think the borders are not set in stone, and we need to speak for the whales in general, stressing that they are under great stress, too much to add more stress by doing something like the Saguaro Energy Haineos project.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, Beatriz, I really, really hope that people are going to be hearing your message. We're going to do everything we can on our end to get it out there. I'd like to know a little bit. We still have 10 more minutes. I'd like to know a little bit more about this 2.5-month live art protest that you're going to be camping out on the beach this whole time, you were saying?
Yes. I'm just putting here my Instagram account in case people want to follow me. You can put it there because we will be transmitting not as often because I won't have that many communications facilities, but whenever I get a chance, whenever I come across somebody's Starlink, I'm going to send recordings, and my team here in Central Mexico will be helping me post them. So yes, I have to be near the whale, so it is near the coast, on the coast. I'll be there 1 month on the Pacific coast, and then 3 weeks or so in the Gulf of California coast. And but what's really, it's cold now. It's really cold. It's camping on the beach when it's really, really cold and extremely windy. This is the windiest season. Try to paint under windy conditions. To top it off, on the Pacific coast, it's the desert. It's a real desert. There's not one tree. I looked it up on the internet. Okay, where I'm gonna tie up my 2 ropes so I can stretch my canvas and paint. Not one tree. Most ecotourism facilities, they are all tents. And I had to buy 13 beams to create a studio for myself because there's no shade, nowhere that I can tie a rope and put a shade against the wind and against the sun to protect me from sun. So anyway, it's cold and windy, and I'm going to be building a studio. And I got some ideas, some visuals about how to paint the songs of the gray whales, which is very not songs, because songs only the humpbacks. All the other whales vocalize. They have a lot of vocalizations. I've been reading about that, and it's really interesting. But I came across one of a mother and her calf that talking to each other, and they talk to each other very softly, very, very, very softly, as if they didn't want to be heard. And it's so sweet. So it really, there's so much tenderness, so much love. And I'm asking for permission to see if I can paint that one. And they're playing hard to get. I still don't know if it will be a yes or a no. But if it's a no, the other sounds of the gray whales are louder. One of them is described as congas. Other one, like, sounds really like drumming. Others are described as pulses. Others are described as burps. Sounds like burps. I'm not saying that the whales are burping. Others are described as ronroneos, which is like what cats do. How do you call when a cat rubs against you and starts going like?
Oh, it's kind of like purring, but a little more.
Purring.
Yeah, purring. When you say, Beatriz, when you say that you're asking permission from whom?
From the person that has the audio.
Ah, I see.
Okay. The person that recorded the mother and the calf.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I was wondering.
Because when I show the painting, I want to show the audio.
Ah, okay. And when you're actually sitting there on the beach in front of the ocean, will you be able to actually hear the whales directly yourself?
Well, actually, the whales, I've read about people sitting next to the rocks and hearing outside the water. A guy on a kayak could hear the humpback singing. Mm-hmm. I've heard that this other guy in Hawaii submerged himself under the water right on the coast, and he could hear all this sound of humpback singing. Mm-hmm. I'm not allowed to swim where I'm going. It's a protected area. I'm not allowed to swim. I would love just to be able to put my ears under the water, just float on a dock and put my head deep enough under the water so I could listen. I could try and listen. But then there's also these little shrimps, tiny shrimps that have these big claws, and they make a racket. Like they clack, 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 and it sounds really, really. A lot of times when we put our head under the water and hear like what sounds like pebbles rolling on the ground, it's actually these shrimps that go clack, 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 clack. They make a racket. So I'm definitely going to try to put my ears under the water, for sure.
Mm-hmm. But you probably will be able to see them, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, I'm gonna see how, but I gotta go get on a boat with scientists and just hang out with them and watch the whales. See the whales. Well, the thing is that the gray whales are known as the friendly whales. They, as I say, they travel very close to the coast. So these are whales that have had a lot of interaction with the humans because they travel close to the sand. So they really travel very, very parallel to the coast. And then they hibernate in the lagoons of the Gulf of California, Pacific coast of the Peninsula of California. When the San Diego whalers found out where they spent the winter, it was so easy for them to get into those lagoons and hunt them nearly to extinction. But they are still friendly, these whales, they are still friendly, and they actually approach boats and you can actually touch them. I wonder if I'm going to be so lucky.
Let's hope so. Well, we have 5 more minutes, and I would like to I would like to let people know, first of all, how they can follow you. And we got your Instagram, which is Beatriz Padilla Artista Visual. But how else? Is there anything else and what can people do to support you?
Well, I think I'm going to have to launch a crowdfunding campaign because, gosh, it's turning out to be a little bit more expensive because of as I mentioned, the cost of building a studio. It turned out to be an unexpected one, but I'm sent. I might have to launch a crowdfunding campaign. I'll let you know. But I'm
Okay.
going to put here on the chat. Maybe you can share it. All my social media.
Okay, yes. And
Facebook,
you can put those up.
Instagram, TikTok.
And also, we will be definitely following you from the Esperanza Project. So, the Esperanza Project, people should sign up for that. And how, aside from following and sharing, and we will be letting you all know about the crowdfunding campaign, is there anything else that people can be doing? Calling their representatives, people who might be watching this from Texas, for example. Is there anything that you can recommend that people do to support?
Support the people that are doing the hard work. Support,
Uh-huh.
for example, the people that are um, uh, cutting the nets when whales get tangled. I'm going to give you the website of these people that are doing the amazing, amazing work of um, cutting whales free from all those nets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called um, Ecología y Conservación de Ballenas. I'm going to put the chat here. And they have the coordinación. Let me put it here for you in one single so you can just post it quickly. Support them. Support them. They are in dire need of help. They are overwhelmed by the amount of whales that are caught in nets.
Mm,
So, yeah,
yes.
support them.
Okay.
They're
And you'll
doing
probably be posting about them and about the scientists that you meet and about all those things on your as well, correct?
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
geez. I don't know where to find you.
Well,
Where I,
we
I just want to put this. Okay, I'll put it in our chat so you can put it up. Um,
yeah,
oh, there in my
yeah.
chat with you, and maybe you can. Oh, I now know where to find you.
Okay, we have one more minute, Dan. So I'd just like to ask you,
You
we
can
will
put
follow up. We will follow up with this on the website. If there's one last thought that you'd like to leave people with as we say goodbye for now.
support the good people. Support the people that are doing the good work, that are fighting the good fight. If you don't have time to do it yourself, if you don't have the expertise to do it yourself, support these people. Ecoback.org. They are the ones that need the support, and they are making a difference.
Ecoback.org.
They
Okay,
are amazing.
very good, very good. Well, Bea, we certainly will be keeping you in our thoughts and prayers as you pack up and get ready to head to the wild and windy coast of Baja California. And we'll be checking in with you from time to time. And yes, you have one more thing to say?
Yeah, as I said, I won't have that much telecommunications, but whenever I get a chance, I'll send out messages.
Yes. Okay. Well, Be well, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Nacho, our wonderful producer, for the wonderful
Thank you, Nacho. Thank you, Tracy.
Nacho. Thank you, Gerardo Said, for this wonderful platform. And we will be in touch, Bea. Take good care. Okay.
Will do. Will do. Thank
Okay.
you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.